Okay, we actually live, Chase.
Oh, we went live,
Yeah,
live.
yeah. So don't
Oh,
say anything stupid or take off your clothes, something like that. So
man, you're really asking a lot of me now here.
it's fine, it's fine. Yeah. Can you move to your left a little bit? There you go.
See,
Perfect. Okay, that's it. That's it. That's perfect. Okay. So what time is it right there? It's like 9, right? Almost 10.
yeah, let's see. Yeah, it's about 9:45 now. Getting a little late. Just fed some crocs and cut up a whole bunch of chicken that we bought today.
Um, wh- when did you get back? Like Monday? Like late Monday or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think I pulled into the house after unloading all the animals at 8:30. So it was about 6:30 your time. So it was about 24 hours after I left Cali from the show.
Oh wow. So it took you 24 hours?
After driving, stopping by the shop and unloading all the animals back into their tub and drive back to my house, took me 24 hours after I left there.
Oh wow. Yeah, because
It was a bit.
yeah, it took me like what 16 hours or something like that. Okay?
I feel
Yeah.
like you made it in like 14, but you know,
Yeah, probably yeah. I didn't even realize until you actually mentioned it.
yeah, yeah, because you came pretty quickly that night. I will say, I woke up the next thing I knew you were here, and I was shocked. How did he get here so fast?
Yeah, I didn't feel like, like I was like driving like a mofo. I mean, well, I drive like really fast regularly. Yeah, but this I didn't even feel it. It's like, because I was like on the phone like all the time. And then yeah, it took me like
Worse, that's
maybe like
movies.
12 and then 14. Yeah, yeah, because when I saw the map, I was like, "Oh, it's I was like almost there." So I was like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah, it's certainly not a short drive. The worst part about it is half of it's basically Texas.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it feels like, there's no end. Like the road you just like keep going.
Yeah, and it's not like you're
I will
changing
probably
highway.
never gonna do it again. Hmm?
It's not like you get to change highways the entire drive. You're just stuck on one highway pretty much the whole way.
Yeah, like cruise control like 80 miles per hour.
The nice part.
Yeah. How was the show? Like for you in general?
Show went a lot better than I kind of thought it was going to there, just because there were so many more vendors. So it got a little nerve wracking. Definitely, I sold a lot more of the lower end stuff than what I usually do at a lot of shows. I feel like the
Yeah.
customer base that was there was definitely more of just a family in and out kind of customer base, but it still has the growth to be able to grow into a huge show. It got a huge crowd. I was a little nervous come Sunday, though. I will say Sunday morning, man, there was
Why?
from like 11 until about 12:30 to 1. There was nobody inside the building. And finally, it just
Are you
boomed after
serious?
that. Oh yeah, it was pretty dead. I got a little nervous, having such a long drive back home. I contemplated like, I'll just pack everything up and drive home, and then thankfully
Just
I rode
bounce.
it out and it paid off for it. It ended up, I ended up making double what I did on Saturday. So even though
Oh,
it was a
really?
slow start, it picked up in the end.
Right. Yeah, because it's probably because Saturday came back late and then they don't want to get up like really early on Sunday. You know.
Right. And I heard a lot of
Which one do
people
you like
saying that
better?
the parking was so difficult on Saturday that they just gave up and decided to come back Sunday too.
That is true. It took me like close to an hour just by the time I exit the freeway. It's like almost an hour because people cannot drive and then you see like one of those people from out of town like trying to figure
Right.
out like like where is the entrance, and then they ask like how much is it. It just take forever. So
Yeah, I mean, heck, even even our buddies Anthony and them, they're from down there in the area, and they got lost just trying to get into the venue. So it's definitely a
right.
confusing area at first, but once you figure it out, it's a little easier to deal with.
Yeah. You've been there before, right? I mean, did you fan from the last Anaheim like years back,
Uh,
right?
I actually have never been before. I used to, Ben used to go out there, and he used to tell me about how it was and all that stuff. But as far as like
Oh,
me, I
okay.
never actually went out there.
Okay,
So
so
I've done
that show
Pomona.
was like your first time then.
Yeah, this was my first time at the Anaheim venue. I've done the Pomona show. What? It's got to be 5 times now, 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, it's probably like more than that, huh? No?
Might even be more than that. It's hard to remember. It all kind of blends in after so long.
Yeah, yeah. Which one you like better, Pomona or Anaheim?
The first time there at Anaheim, definitely had
Mm-hmm.
I think the more potential for growth. Obviously, I'm going to have to go with Pomona because I've done better there over the years, just because it's more established, gets more people in, I think, and has a better customer base from around that area. But
Right.
I think Anaheim has just as much growth potential as Pomona, if not more even.
Yeah, once people get used to it, because sometimes like especially in this hobby, people don't really like any changes, so they
Right.
need to adapt and they get used to it. Especially like I mean, what I've heard like that that Saturday is like people complaining about the parking fee. I mean, I don't
Right.
blame them, but that's what you pay when you live here in California. Everything is
Right.
expensive.
Especially right there in what is it, Orange County there?
No, that one is well, not necessarily Orange County, but yeah, it's close enough. But yeah,
All that stuff gets really expensive. But I mean, you're definitely right on the nobody likes to change. Because for me, like even going into the show, I was already just like, I hate this idea because I already like in Pomona, I know exactly where to go, where to unload, how to get into the parking lot. Here, I got to play all the how do I do this? I got
right.
to figure it all out. And I just drove 20 hours, so I'm tired. On top of that,
Yeah, and then most people get used to it. Just like you said, you already know like where to go, where to stay, and then everything just kind of like already there.
right? I do have to say the
Yeah.
staff at this show. Sometimes it's a hit or miss staff whenever you're doing with the show. Not so much like the staff that's working for the Super Show, but like the staff for the venue itself. And
Okay.
definitely, these were nice staff. They let us roll in through the front door and stuff like that. And they were pretty laid
Okay.
back about that kind of stuff. Some venues you go to, man, they're just so strict. You have to roll into like a very specific bay door and stuff like that. So kind of nice to be able to
Yeah.
just, especially in such a big venue where you figure they'd be way more strict. They were pretty laid back about everything. That was always nice. Pomona, they're really strict out there. It seems like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, every time
Well,
like
you just
just
need.
dealing with some of the staff at the fairgrounds, they're always kind of rude.
Uh, you should kind of like bribe them with that one of those happy leaves. Make them happy just a
Yeah,
little bit.
it tends to work. That tends to work the best in California. That's the one nice side to California.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, are you gonna be? Um, I mean, are you going back? Because I think we're gonna have it the one in Pomona like in October, right? Are you going to that one?
Uh, I'll be there in August. Yeah, we'll be there in August. I'm going to set up with a couple buddy of mine. I'm sure you guys know him. JT over at ReptiChip and Mike Brizzy at Mike Brizzy Reptiles, and then my buddy Sean Barnett at Sean Barnett Reptiles. So all three of us are
Mm,
going to set up in a 4-pack there this August. So definitely come check it out and come by and say hello to all of us.
right. If you have to pick one show, right? Which one you like the most? I'm talking about anywhere from like Pomona, Anaheim, Daytona, Tinley, Arlington, and then your local shows. Which one you like the
I mean,
best? Only one.
for
Mm-hmm.
me, it depends on how I break them down. For me, I love the local show
Uh-huh.
here at the house. Maybe not the most profitable at all the times and all that stuff, but I get to come home and sleep in my own bed. So that makes it a little nicer just to be able to get home, spend time with the kids, get to do all that stuff instead of having to be out of town for the weekend. Now,
Yeah.
I definitely love the Pomona show. It's done me extremely well. Met a lot of really
Yeah.
awesome people at that show. That had I not drove out there to make that show,
Yeah.
Tinley definitely rates up there as well. I feel like Tinley's for the boa community, which is where I mostly, spend a lot of my time or grew out of. I guess it's died down
Okay.
a little bit there as far as just the people that hang out there for the boas and stuff like that. I
Mm-hmm.
think it comes in waves though, where Tinley is really great for a couple of years for your group of people, and then maybe they can't afford to
Mm-hmm.
go for that many years in a row or give up that many days of work. But
Right.
yeah, Pomona is probably my favorite one right now. Tinley at one point definitely would not have been on the top Pomona by any means, but now Pomona is definitely that top show.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why like what most people like been saying too. And then for me personally, I don't know, maybe because it's in California, so I don't really feel like like I feel like I want to go because I already know like the breeders and then what they have and things like that. and then mostly because it's local. So if I'm in town, then
Right.
maybe I go just to say hi and then I'm hanging out with you guys. Other than that, it's nothing really get me excited. Not like Tinley, especially for the last 3 years. Tinley been probably one of my top priority.
Right.
Like one of the expo that I really need to go. So.
Yeah. And I think with Pomona, you don't see
Hmm.
nearly as many of just those high end killer projects that you generally see at Tinley. At Tinley, you get the biggest of the biggest names, especially in the ball python community, that are there.
Yeah.
And you get to see all the best mutations that each one of these guys made over the years. I mean, Daniel Allison, Brock and Brad, Justin. I mean, there's countless names up there. Winston that are just, Dave. There's countless ones you could count that just bring you all
Yeah.
the best stuff that been made here. And it's hard to even touch them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Speaking of that, how you think about that new project that I'm working on?
I like it. Um, the one that looked like a spider. I like that
Yeah,
one.
the ones that look like a spider. I'm curious to see
Yeah.
how that one ends up going. It's got so much highlight coming out inside of it that
Yeah.
that could be the next one that just combined with the right combo, and all of a sudden it might be just the newest, hottest gene out there. And that's all it takes, just proving out one. You've seen my wall of 100 imports that I have there, and all
Yeah.
it takes is one of those animals proven out. It makes the huge difference.
Yeah. Well, I've been telling you to start working on them. I mean, you've been like feeding them for like years now, and then they're just like sitting
Yeah,
there
I've
doing
kind of
nothing.
Yeah, I didn't breed a whole lot of them. I just want to get them nice and mature. And now that they're breeding pretty heavily now. It looks like this year
Hmm.
everything's going really well. So I have a new helper that's been helping me. He's been
Okay,
doing a
that's good.
great job since about August. Go ahead.
Right. No, that's actually good.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
because no, that's fine. Yeah, because finding the right staff is probably like finding needle in a stack. Especially in this hobby. I've been trying like really
literally,
hard because I have one right now that been with me for like forever, and then I trust him like really like really well. But in order for me to have him like fully run the whole collection, I still now feel that confident just yet. You know what I mean? But
right,
but other than that, the only main thing that I needed so far is just to clean the animals and then maintaining like ordering supplies or like easy stuff. But when it comes to like breeding or even like feeding, when I'm in town, I always want to do it myself. So I get kind of like
right,
get the idea where they are, whether if they like ready to breed or not, if I need to do something else. Because like for him, I mean he's good, but for him feeding schedule just feeding schedules, like nothing more than that. I mean
right.
so yeah.
Yeah, and that's one thing with this new helper that I have now. He's been doing a killer job, honestly, for me, and probably one of
Okay.
the best helpers that I've found so far in all the years. And so I'm gonna
Okay.
just turn him loose this year, let him try to breed that wall of normals that I have over there, and kind of see how he does. Because at least there I can afford to, if things don't go so as well, it's all right. And
Yeah.
he's been on it though. That's amazing. Is like he's really picked up on some of the small little things. So it'd be neat to see if he's able to really get some of those going. I mean, heck, there's two females the other day that looked a little swollen, and he said something about it. I was like, well, if you think the
Okay.
male needs to go inside there, you do your thing. He put the male in there, and
Mhm.
sure enough, they were ovulating within a few weeks from there. So, you know, that small
Yeah.
little bit, I mean, it's taken years to find something like that because, like you said, you get somebody in there that all they want to do is collect that money and then go home, and they don't care like if more breeds, less breeds, and I think that'll be a neat experience to get to watch him also grow on it too, because it's something he's really excited to learn about. So getting him to produce all this stuff, and heck, maybe I'll give him a nice little bonus whenever he gets some of it done. Gives a little
Yeah, I always
encouragement.
take care of. Yeah, I always take care of like like most of my employees too, because when they're happy, usually they're gonna make you happy too. You know what I mean?
Right, right. That's what it's
Yeah,
about.
yeah. Okay, let's back to the basic. Um, how did you get started? All of with all of this chaos.
Oh man, I really don't know. I look back all the time and I'm like, how did it happen? And honestly, I just,
Yeah.
fell in love with a little bit of reptiles here or there, and That's whenever the madness
Right.
started. Honestly, I had a buddy of mine years ago. His name was Brad Willoughby.
Mm-hmm.
That I used to buy some
Mm-hmm.
rats off him. We had bought a couple snakes or whatever in high school. I bought a couple snakes in high school, and uh, I went to his place one day to go buy some rats off of him, and he's like, "Man, have you ever seen like all the ball python mutations?" And I was like, "No," like didn't really
Mm-hmm.
know what he was talking about. He took me into
Yeah.
his room and showed me all these ball python mutations, and then yeah, that was pretty much it, man. I fell in love from there. Started looking at all the different mutations, thinking about all the different possibilities. Of course, even whenever I got into it, there wasn't nearly as many, and I got into it in 2000. This was in 2008, whenever this happened with Brad,
Wow.
probably in
Okay.
between 2009, middle of the year. Then really started to get into it heavy with like the plans of breeding around 2009, and so it's taken about 10 years to grow to where it's at now.
Okay.
Yeah, really not sure exactly how it all kind of fell into place. It just slow little bits here and there, and then every time that I've produced stuff over the years,
Right.
I would
Mm-hmm.
always keep it. I did use an investor along the way that kind of helped get it going just a little bit, and was able to pay that off pretty quickly and kind of squared that away, and then just keep it
Right.
growing from there. Here, usually I'd start out making like 30 ball python clutches a year, and then I would take all the males didn't need, get rid of them, sell them off, and then every single female, no matter what it was, I pretty much kept. Looking back, I don't know if that was particularly the best, decision. But the thing is, I still love all those animals the same. Like it's not
Yeah.
always about the value. I'm more of a, I like to provide people with their first time pet more than anything. I don't particularly have the drive or the desire to sell a bunch of $3,000 or $4,000 snakes all the time. Which is there's two different markets that are out there in this industry, and there might even be a
Yeah.
third one, which might be that middle ground, really heavy too. And for me, I just, yeah, like this weekend in Pomona, I couldn't even tell you, 10 to 15 kids, their first ever reptile. And honestly, there was
Yeah.
no cooler experience. There's no more fun. I've probably gotten like 50 text messages, and I enjoy getting to, help them. Like I had a lady today that she was worried that her ball python was hungry because it was snapping at her, and I just went through and simply explained to her how it was stressed, and all that stuff and broke it down for her. Hey, imagine
Mm.
if you just got thrown into a new environment and you were just on your own to fend for yourself, and all these things are
Right.
reaching in trying to get you. You're going to snap at them, bite them. And broke it down for her. Once she understood that, she calmed down about it, and now she told me she's going to try to feed the animal more and all that stuff. So, you know, most people get annoyed by those simple things. For me, I really
Mm-hmm.
enjoy those because I had those same exact moments getting into this where I questioned every little thing if I was doing it right or if I was doing it wrong, but I had nobody to ask. So it's nice now to be the person that people get to come to ask after I had all those questions.
Right. Yeah, that's why what separate, like good breeders or at least the one that make it to the top. I feel like, as a breeders, you need to kind of like at least, tell them like what is the best way to, take care of them, the husbandry or things like that, right? Because I still
Right.
kind of, still find out like until, even like last year, right? I still see people that only go to the show or all of these breeders vending they only want to sell. They don't really care about like what you're gonna do or even have the taking the time to explain it to them like this is what you do,
Right.
this is how you take care of them or things like that. They just kind of like I feel they only care about the money,
Right.
so I think that probably what separate the one that you know successful and the one that probably not gonna last that long in the long run.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm,
Yeah.
I mean, you know who the best business example, in my opinion, is out there is look at Timberline. They don't even sell reptiles to the public, and yet they
Yeah.
offer some of the best care sheets that are out there. And it's not because they, have any interest or business interest, I guess you could say, in that. It's just a matter
Hmm.
of they know that that's what's better for the industry and for USR too. In the end, I mean, that's helping us get to keep animals because if we're providing people without giving them the proper care and stuff like that, well, then obviously USR is going to feel the effects of us not providing our customers with a good proper care. A
Yeah.
proper care sheet, I should say.
Yeah. Um, so technically, you study from ball python first, and then you branch out to boas, or vice versa.
No, I actually got boas first, so I got like a good
Oh,
group
boas
of
first.
boas. Yeah, that was in between like 2000. Whenever I started really picking up boas, you could say it was between like 2010, 11, 12. And then probably about 2012, I think it was, I bought a decent little group of ball pythons. And then, yeah, from there, I couldn't even tell you what year it was that I bought. There was a year that I went to Wilbanks and I bought a whole bunch of the show off of them. I'm trying to remember what year it was, but I really can't remember. I want to say it was late 2012, and
Okay.
then I think the following year I bought some more off from the following show. So that's whenever the ball pythons kind of took off. Was around 2012 or so. Is whenever I started really trying to get into those.
Right. Yeah. Because like right at the beginning, this is when like I used to I talk or spend too much time kind of like talking, going back and forth with Ben, and then he
Right.
always mentioned about you, but he never mentioned about you doing like ball python. So that's why I always have that presumption that you only do boas.
Right.
you
Yeah,
know.
that's what everybody thinks. Well, originally my name was
Yeah.
Texas Bow Exotics, and then finally
Yeah.
after all the years,
I
I was like,
remember
well, I
that.
better change that because everybody assumes that all I do is bows, and now they never reach out for ball pythons.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely felt
Yeah.
the effects on that one.
Yeah. Because for so long I didn't even know if you have like ball python collection, like not even a clue, you know.
Yeah,
And then yeah, I think he always mentioned you for that boa guys because I always talk about like how's the market, like what's hot, and then what's not, and then like exchange like project, and then
right,
when he trying to compare like boas, he always mentioned about you, even though he never mentioned like Chase, whatever, right?
right.
So yeah, it's like really funny.
Yeah, I mean, heck, like we said in the original with the Sunset Group, it's a small world how that all came
Yeah.
around, and it's funny
Yeah,
how that
it's
worked
a
out
small
for us.
world. I mean, yeah, that's like hilarious. It's like really funny because when I first decided to kind of like jumped into the Sunset project, this like a while back, um, Ben was actually one of like two people that trying to convince me not to spend that money to that particular person, and then
Right,
he saved me a lot of money. Otherwise, I'd be like screwed like right off the bat. But that's probably one
right,
of the reason, like having, like a well, not a team, but like a good friend to kind of like exchange ideas and then asking for opinions because sometimes like me person, I do not know anything, and it's always good
right,
to know people that know what they're doing and then have build this relationship because they most of the time they're gonna have your back. They always tell you, okay, don't do this or don't deal with this person or things like that.
right.
So yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of if I could give a recommendation like anybody starting out that's looking like really getting into the industry, that'd be the one thing is just try to find you somebody that you can truly trust. I mean, if you start getting bad
Yeah.
advice, obviously you can go downhill quickly. Just a matter of buying off the right people. I mean, heck, even buying off the wrong people. I've known people over the years they've bought something off the wrong person. They got an animal and then maybe had mites or had some sort of issue, and then it spread
Yeah.
throughout their collection. And then whenever it spread throughout their collection, it literally would just wipe out all their stuff. And all it'd be
Yeah.
was one bad animal, and they didn't quarantine or didn't do what they were supposed to do on their end either. And that
Right.
mixture just put them out of business. And it's crazy because I mean it can happen over a course of 6 to 12 weeks, or however long,
Yeah.
6 to 12 months or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Ball Python wise, what project you working on right now?
Ugh, man, that's a tough one. I definitely want to do some of the
Yeah.
candy pods, the candy tri-stripe stuff. That's one of the goals.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Um,
Well.
Sunset Desert Goat,
Okay.
which you probably have me beat on by about 10 miles, but I'll catch you eventually. Those are the one. That's the one I think is going to be the hottest. I have
Yeah.
another one that's I can't share.
Okay. That's fine.
Oh, trying to think of a few that are out there. The double head sunset. So I made some fire Mojave double head sunset stuff the other day, and double head sunset hypo, and I'm pretty excited
Okay.
to see that. I think that the fire Mojave sunset hypo has a chance to be pretty neat. Winston posted a photo of his breeder male Mojave or sunset hypo, and that thing had just crazy flares all over the side. So it'd be really neat to see how
Yeah.
that one turns.
Yeah. 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 Hypo seems to clean up and then helps not to get that brown that what people
Right.
being like whining like a Barbie doll like all the time.
Right.
Um.
I
Yeah.
think it
I don't know
died
about
over the years.
fat.
I think that one died because too many people put too many light genes into it. honestly. So like if you look
Yeah.
back, everybody like originally we were all making pastels, bees, and spinner blasts, which I make more of than probably anybody, you know. And
Yeah.
we were making those combos instead of making the dark stuff like cinnamon, Mojave stuff, or whatever, you know, whatever out there that's dark
Yeah.
into the hypo, and that's really where it makes the difference. I feel like.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's so many things that still not done just yet. There's so many potentials. There's so many avenues. That's what be the
Yeah.
fun part about like getting involved. Like in this hobby, there's like so many things that you can create. That's probably one of
Right.
the things that I always tell people. Don't just get in and then follow all the hypes. Because you have to be creative. You have to be well, not necessarily different, just like work on your own, because that's probably one of the reason why we always exchange ideas, perspective, like what are you working on, and then why you are trying to structure it your project this way.
Right.
That's the fun of it, because you exchange ideas, and then you hang out, and then you talk about your project, and then things like
Right.
that. Yeah.
It's like
uh,
it's like my
mhm,
employee now. He's starting to build his collection, and every week that he's in or every day that he's in, he asks me why,
mhm,
what should I get and why should I get it? And I mean, man, I
okay.
could go through and pick out all these genes out there that I personally think are just the sleeper genes. Like for example, red stripe. Red
Yeah.
stripe's been around for how many years, and then all of a sudden somebody, Justin, makes the right combo. And as soon as
Hmm.
Justin makes the right combo, then it's
Yeah.
that one. So, and I think there's a lot of those out there, that we could see. I mean, one that I was scrolling through today that I thought has chances, the paint stuff or the Centennial stuff. I think that those two have a ton of potential that not even touched, but yet they've been around for how many years, and maybe somebody eventually makes the right combo with it. Maybe somebody doesn't. But that's all I take. And then another one was, man, was it the white lace? I think the super lace stuff.
Hmm.
That stuff, the belly on that thing was just insane that I seen today. So, there's some combos out there that are just sitting around that everybody probably produced a few combos of, and they didn't come out great. So then we just forgot about it, and then said,
Yeah.
oh, well, it doesn't make anything cool. Let's just move on to the next project. Reality is it
Mm.
wasn't put through the 25,000 genes that it feels like we have out there in ball pythons.
Yeah. Yeah, for that lace project, I've been, saying the same thing for like forever. And then people like, yeah, lace, things like that, whatever, right? And then since then, the price is already almost more than triple now, because I still
Yeah,
remember picking up bunch of the, those super lace, well, white lace, like for I don't know, like 300-400 shipped from
yeah, because that
Scott.
was when I think that was whenever Dan what was his name, Dan Wolf, if I remember correctly. He sold out whenever he did. They went for. I mean, I remember it was cheap because I knew some buddies that had invested
Really
into it.
cheap.
But
Yeah.
what's funny is even some of those buddies that invested into it at a higher dollar amount, they managed to still make their money back over time by riding out the project.
Yeah, yeah. Right now, Super Lace is like $2,000 at least. And then
Right.
I saw one guy. What is his name? Seth from DD Reptiles, I believe. So he made this white lace pastel yellow belly. It looks on
Yeah.
fire. It's really really cool. Have you seen it?
Yeah. Yeah, those are the ones I was scrolling through today, and I saw that, and I was like, man, that side has a ton of potential on that belly. Like to do, you could really do a lot with that.
Yeah.
Bring it to flares. There's a lot. I mean, it almost
Yeah.
has a monsoon look on half the animal, almost.
Yes.
That pixel
Yeah.
look.
Half of the animals. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
another
And
sleeper
then
that I think that's is
yeah.
monsoon.
Yeah. Well, lace is no longer, part of the sleeper gene now, because everybody
Right.
wants it now. Yeah. And then it's really weird because lace project, because one of the females, I put it into my sunset project. I don't know if I showed the picture, but the Angie lace hat sunset, it's
Yeah.
neon yellow. Have you seen it? Did I show it to
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. Show me some pictures of them.
Yeah, and then I didn't expect it's gonna look like that, because I mean like the single gene lace, right? So my thought is just anti lace, and then you just hat, and then it turns like yellow, like neon yellow.
Right,
So
and that's not even
that should be
adding in the
fun.
white lace because it should add in just a bright orange color. I would imagine pretty heavily throughout the body at that point.
Yeah, because my thought process when I started to like kind of figure out like what I want to do with that lace project. I feel like lace gonna help with that browning issues with sunset, and then
Right.
yeah, because any combos that I make, because I have that lace ng hat clown, it gets better with age. I mean, there's no like one pixel that looks brown at all. It gets brighter and
Right.
brighter. So I was like, okay, so let me figure out if I can kind of like improve that sunset project. So
Yeah, and I think with that project too, there's so much to be done combo wise that people just don't even, you know, look at
mhm.
boas with the blood and albino mixed together. You end up getting a snake that looks what we thought the black ball was going to be, which we all know that one's probably not end up going to be what we all thought it was going to
Yeah,
be from the sounds of it. But you
yeah,
know, I think that the sunset albino has a true potential to produce an animal that's about as close as you're going to be able to get to that animal. I don't know if it'll be quite that drastic because that animal is pretty neat, but yeah,
yeah.
it'll be neat to see some of the sunset stuff. I mean, I could think of another couple other things out there like Desert Ghost. That'd be pretty neat to see inside of the Orange Dream stuff that I could think of that would really combine well. I mean,
Yeah.
Mike Brizzy, don't quote me on this, but he has like a Super Orange Dream Inchy Yellow Belly Calico or something like that. I mean, crazy combo
Ah,
animal. The thing is just absolutely just bright orange all throughout. And I
yeah,
can just imagine that adding back into sunset because I mean, I'd imagine that's going to bring a ton of colors to the table.
yeah. Have you seen that Halloween ball?
Uh, who posted it? Do you
This
remember?
guy, Joe, Joe Kinney or something like that from Gold Coast Reptile. Super nice guy.
Yeah, yeah, golf. Yeah, I know
Yeah,
which one you're
remember?
talking about. I
Yeah,
remember that.
yeah. I think it's Joe or something like that. I'm really bad with names. So yeah. So he made this Halloween ball. So Halloween ball is I think if I remember correctly is black pastel OD NG yellow belly. I think black pastel NG
Okay.
OD yellow belly.
Okay.
It's just like that highlighter, like
Yeah,
orange highlighter. Yeah. So yeah, that one's
that's
pretty
where
cool,
I
huh?
think a lot of projects will go in the future too. Especially whenever you keep, as much as I hate people disliking the pastel for no reason, you're even on board with that to a certain degree. I feel
I'm
like,
one of them.
for me,
Yeah.
I love some of the pastels sometimes, just some of the
Yeah.
combos, but there are certainly times
Uh,
where it just wipes it completely. Color. I mean, a good example is, like I made a pastel campfire the other day, and if I were to set it next to my regular campfire, you'd be like, not so hot. But as it ages, it'll definitely get a lot more peachy and pinks to it. But as a baby, it's just a
yeah.
washed out, compared to the other one over
Yeah.
there. The other one's bright orange.
Right. If you have to pick, right, either you have to focus on ball python or boas. Which one would you prefer?
If it wasn't about money at all, and I didn't have a business
Mm-hmm.
to run to at the end of the day, definitely have to
Mm-hmm.
be boas.
Oh, okay.
Definitely be
So you like boas more?
boas. Yeah, the boas can be a lot more hit or miss at times, though. So they're not
Okay.
always guaranteed per se. The ball pythons, I can consistently breed those like a certain number every single year and consistently hit the same percentage. Boas, one year I
Mm-hmm.
might do like 90%. The next year, honestly, I might do like 10%. So
Oh,
it could be a huge balance at times with those. I don't know what causes like the huge drastic difference. I know I'm not the only one out there in the boa community that feels
okay.
those bounces of up and down. So it's one of those. They're just maybe a little trickier to breed, or maybe their temperatures just need to be, maybe one year to the next it gets a little hotter or a little colder.
Okay. It seems like it's much, well, not harder, but more tricky to breed boas, right?
Right. It seems like the males just
Yeah.
really have to be there at a certain time. If those males just aren't there at a certain time,
Mm,
it's a bit, that's whenever it gets tricky. It seems like,
right.
but
Okay, so this is like a newbie questions, right? How do you breed your ball python? So walk me through from the beginning.
so for me,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my big step comes from before breeding. I usually take everything off food for like 60 days. Don't let them eat super
Okay.
heavy. Just kind of let them kick back and relax. And then after that, I usually breed a little late, I guess, or early, whatever you want to consider it the most. So usually around July to August, I'll start taking everything back on food after having it off for about 2 months this summer. and then I'll kick it
Mm-hmm.
off food real heavy, feed it 2 meals, 2 meals in a 2 week period, just on a weekly basis, boom, boom, and then
Mm-hmm.
let all the males go in, let them do their thing. After I have the males paired and rotated through for about a week or two, then I'll take all those, put them over with the female, or put them back into their tubs, and I'll take out all the females, palpate them. Well, for me, I actually ultrasound them, but for anybody that didn't
Mm-hmm.
have the ultrasound, I just palpate them, check and see if you're getting any growth, and then from there, depending on how they're looking, as long as they're only 20 millimeters, I'll make sure to feed them every single week and pull the male if I have to. As soon as they hit about the 20 millimeter mark, they seem to go off food anyway, which is about, I mean, the size of a grape or so, a little bit larger than a grape is about the size you'll feel while palpating. Once they go
Yeah.
off that food, then I just go ahead and call it good. Just let them ride it out from there. They don't
Mm-hmm.
usually eat anyway, and just keep rotating the male in every 2 weeks or so. Now, some people I hear at the ultrasound, they'll do like a lock at 10, 20, and 30. For me, that hasn't worked the best, so I just rotate them
Hmm.
out. Usually once every 2 weeks is the most the female sees the male until they ovulate.
Okay.
If that makes
Um,
any sense, makes sense whenever I was
yeah.
talking about it.
Yeah. So the basic is pretty much the same. The principle is pretty much the same. So you're saying you you let them like off food before you start the breeding process?
Yeah, yeah. Before I go into it, I give
Okay.
them a couple weeks off, just kind of lean up and all that, and then whenever I give
Mm.
them that heavy amount of food after being off for 60 days, it seems to really drive
Mm-hmm.
the follicle growth up quite a bit. To where whenever
Okay.
I do get them right back on food, they really take, especially while they're seeing a male during that point. If you feed heavy and introduce a male, it seems to
Yeah.
really spark them, get them to go.
Okay. Do you drop your temperature at all, or
Uh,
everything
you
stay
know,
the same?
my my building naturally drops during this time, like during the winter time, to where usually it'll drop down to, I mean, 71 at the lowest, for a colder night, usually closer to like 73, 74 for the ambient, which it doesn't make a huge difference inside the tubs. Inside the tubs, it only drops about 2 to 3 degrees throughout the night, and then it raises back up throughout the day. So that's
Okay.
usually about it. It's not necessarily intentional, but it's always happened in my building, and I never would change it. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Okay. So pretty much the temperature for the caging stays the same like all year long, but the ambient temperature is the one that kind of like range, right?
Yeah, it just gets a little bit of
Okay.
range. You know what actually does it for me the most is I keep a really precise light cycle compared to what we get
Okay.
outside. So I have a
Okay.
light sensor that basically picks up whenever the lights on and off outside, and
Okay.
whenever we get time changes and stuff like that, or maybe we have a big rainstorm and it gets darker, like almost dark a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Those simple things. I think that's really where the biggest difference is, having like a real precise light cycle. I think that's what makes the big difference in mine. More or less than the temperature drop. I think that they really need that light cycle change now. Could be wrong on that, but just from what I've experienced in my building.
Okay. Um, what do you think about the ball python market right now?
Ball python market right now. If you have,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a definitely. It's just like any of the other markets though out there in the reptile industry. I think you have to be making the right things. So if your goal is to make a high end animal, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you, the way that like some people will make some hets that they think are worth a crazy amount, or some pos hets even, and they get
Mm-hmm.
frustrated because they can't sell them for even a fraction of the amount, and they don't
Mm-hmm.
realize that a lot of people don't want to take the time on some of these projects. So whenever it comes to the high end stuff, you definitely got to make the visual animals. They can't be pos het. Pos het just kills it completely for, especially on a lot of those high end projects. That takes it down a
Yeah.
lot. And I see people getting
Mm-hmm.
so frustrated because they'll be like, oh well, I'll just throw out trash trap head candy because I have one, for example, like pos het candy. People get so
Mm-hmm.
frustrated because they couldn't sell that, and what they don't understand is, like, if it was 100% het, they could sell it a heck of a lot quicker. It's just a matter of that pos het. Nobody wants to take the extra $2,000, $3,000 gamble or whatever it may be on that animal just for a
Mm-hmm.
chance that it might prove out for it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think as far as the market goes, I think right now there's a really, really solid base to where if you're making a very high end animal that's out there right now, like some of the top sunset combos, top puzzle combos, just
Yeah.
top combos in general. I mean, even some of the pied stuff that like Ozzy and Justin are making right now are just, they're out of this world.
Yeah.
And if you're making that stuff that's top notch and your marketing skills are there too, and I think that's
Mm-hmm.
one thing that so many people fail to think is like, well, I can just make this high end animal, and even though they haven't marketed to reach anybody in this industry, so nobody knows who they are, they think they can just make it and then sell it for $5,000. But You know
Hmm.
as well as I do. You know, if we make a high end animal, or if you have a high end animal, I know who you are. I'm going to buy off you. But if some guy next to you has the same high end
Yeah.
animal, how do I know that if things go sour with this, he's not going to, make it right and stuff like that?
Yeah. Um, do you believe that you actually, as a breeder, create your own market?
100%. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely to a certain degree, though. Of course, for
Of course.
me,
Yeah.
I mean, I made my own out. I think, like I said, though, if you're making a whole bunch of hets and things like that are pos hets and hets, and, like with boas, for example, you see that a lot. There's a bunch of pos hets out there. I
Yeah.
make a bunch of them. A lot of people do. It's because the game's a little harder to play there because they're a little trickier to breed and they're a little longer. But like that stuff is always way trickier to reach. I have plenty of customers,
Yeah.
especially in boas, that they'll come out to reach out to me and be like, "Oh, hey, this thing was 100% head. I'd buy it in a heartbeat," and that's
Hmm.
just because they don't want to wait all those years to raise up for it to prove out. But I definitely think you make your own market to a certain degree, but you still have to be making the right animals that produce because there's definitely animals out there that they just don't sell. Like
Yeah.
I can't think of any combos off the top of my head, but there's one animal that I made this past year. I thought it'd come out pretty cool. It ended up not coming
Hmm.
out that cool. It was a banana
Hmm.
super stripe blast. Pretty simple combo. It was just a solid yellow snake, honestly, as it aged,
Yeah.
especially. And it was one of the
Uh-huh.
tougher ones to sell just because it had nothing really to stand it apart. It's just a solid yellow snake that looked like a banana, literally. And
Yeah.
so I think there's that trick too, where you have to make snakes that stand out. To where if you're focusing on the low end pet trade market, you have blast, spinner blast,
Yeah.
pinstripes, pastels, like all your basic stuff that sells really well, and some of the combos in between bamboos and stuff like that sell really well. But then you got your high end projects, which right now, I mean, I think if you're making like anything puzzle clown, genetic stripe clown, desert ghost
Hmm.
related at all, pretty much sunset related. Man, there's a pretty good list. Tri stripe stuff, candy stuff. Like that's the thing is there's so many of the high end. Like people always talk about how I don't know if there's any more high end out there, but there's every single one of these high end projects are out there. You just got to make the right combo of
Yeah.
maybe let's say a $2,000 snake, and you have to take and combine it with the right gene. It doesn't even necessarily have to be another $2,000 snake. I mean, Justin's combo, for example, on the red stripe stuff is a perfect one with the Pompeii. Like, I mean, what is a cinnamon worth? 150 bucks, 50 bucks, who knows? What is a red stripe worth? 150 bucks. Like just he
Hmm.
took all these right genes though that they've just mixed so well and combined, and
Yeah.
I think that's where the high end market is. If you can combine the right genes and make something that really pops.
Yeah. Yeah. You actually, have a really good point there because, like when I say about creating your own market, because I feel, like before, breeder can just like produce bunch of things, right? I'm talking about like volume, wise. But right now, it seems like the buyers or the breeders or the collectors like myself or things like that, we more educated. Like we know like
True.
what's going on. So it takes more than just producing all of these volumes and then all of these just like based on the based on the quantity. But right now,
Right.
it seems like the demands and then the knowledge that like most people know in the in this hobby, especially after we have after this social media stuff. So it's easier for people to like kind of like learn and then get to know like a certain project. So it takes much more effort to create your own market, quote unquote your own market, because
Right.
I feel like most people, they just feel like, so let's say if you have albino, right? They just want to make another albino or albino pinstripe or things like that. But right now it seems like it takes more than that to at least make it to break even or even a profit or even make it your own name in this industry. So
Right.
because if you look at back, like I don't know, like 8 years ago or things like that, most people just like you said, just produce like hats, or like just a single gene animals, and then they're sold out like cupcakes. But now it
Right.
takes more than that,
Yeah.
so
I mean, I'll have to send you this picture one time of like it's like a $14,000 group of ball pythons, and looking
yeah.
back at it now, it's just mind blowing because some of these things in there were like dragonflies, fireflies, butterflies, like really
Yeah.
just simple things. There was only like 20 animals in this group, and just to think of like,
Yeah.
and I don't even know if there was 20 animals in this group, and that was, the $14,000 was a heavily discounted price for basically like a $20,000 group is what I picked out. I got it for 14 or 15,000 somewhere around that ballpark, and it's mind blowing to see where it came. But at the same time, sitting down though and doing some of the math off those animals, and then
Mhm.
there's certain animals that I can do the math on and say, man, if only I would have bred this to this instead back then, But
Yeah.
now I have that to where I can be like, okay, I knew that this was a good choice back then. I didn't do it. Now, whenever I start to make my plans, if I think something's a good choice, but it's a long term choice, I'll go ahead and
Yeah.
ride the wave on it instead. Even though it's a long ways to ride, it's worth the long ones are the worth it in the end. And that's one thing I've been trying to explain to my helper as he builds his collection because he's so we all want the instant gratification. And I try
Of
to
course.
tell him, man, you got to ride it out so that way you can make some of these double, triple recessive things that you can add in other combos too that are just so hard odds to hit. That once you get that one visual animal, you're so far ahead because your odds go
Yeah.
down to 50% at that time versus being a 1 in 200 and something odd.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's say if someone just started, right, and then they wanna get into, let's say, a high-end project, would you consider them to start like right off the bat to get involved with the high-end project, or let them start with the regular one, and then once they get comfortable, then they might consider, invest for the high-end project? What is your
Uh,
thought about that question? Huh?
that's definitely a tough one. So I mean, I think a lot of that boils down to where if you're willing, I mean, if you have the investment that you're willing to risk. But
Mm-hmm.
like I think I see so many people that get into these projects that they'll maybe spend. Let's just throw 5 grand out there as a number. They'll spend 5 grand. Well, that 5 grand is their everything, and it's their life savings.
Yeah.
And if they don't make
Yeah.
it back within 12 months and they're in a pickle, well, then let's say they do produce these animals, and let's say they do get lucky, and within 12 months they actually have babies out. Well, they can't
Mm-hmm.
sell them right off the bat. So then they're like, okay, well, shoot, I need to make my 5 grand back. I got 5 babies out instead of $3,000 a piece. Let's do 1,500 a piece and get done quick. And I see that a lot, and I
Yeah.
think that's where a lot of the projects come down. Is not so much the people that have the money to spend that buy them that are selling them. It's more the people that don't have the money to spend, and then they can't afford to kind of sit and let them, ride them out as they go down, basically.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's a tough one.
yeah.
I definitely recommend a little mixture of. It's a definitely that's a coin toss on that one because I do see a lot of people they spend a lot of money and then they get burnt out, and then some of the animals they make aren't
Yeah.
worth as much, but they haven't produced the babies to make for the difference in the price that's came down too.
Yeah. 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 That's a good point. I say pretty much the same, and then I usually, you know, have them start from the very basic, even though it doesn't matter if they have a lot of money, no money at all, or just want to start it, right? Because I feel like if they have a really solid, like basic foundation, it's easier to navigate from there, because
Right.
I mean, I get it sometimes. Like most people just wanted to jump into this hobby just to make the money, or to be famous or things like that, because of they need to keep buying new animals for their content, like YouTube or Insta or things like that. I get it, but I just feel like if you start it from the very beginning, right, and then if you understand like what's going on, like the whole basic, like husbandry or things like that, and then if you feel comfortable and then you're 100% sure this is what you want to do, then go ahead,
Right.
go deep, like go all in. That's your
Yeah. I
choice,
mean,
you know. Hmm.
a good example that's Miguel. He basically did that, but I think that him going into it, I mean, he definitely spent his chunk of change, along the way, but he didn't just go like a lot of us did when we first got into this. We just bought whatever we thought was cool, didn't care about the
Hmm.
potential of this, that, or the other breeding wise. I think he really
Right.
sat down. He had a plan going into it. Where it's like, all right, these
Hmm.
are the certain projects that I'm going to lay out and try to focus on and go from there. Now, of course, I've
Yeah.
never talked to him about this, but just looking at his projects, like, it
Hmm.
seems that that's what he's really done. He's made it set out that way to where, is a good idea. Now, I know there's times where it definitely probably spontaneously picks something up. I mean, I heard that he got some animal there at the show this weekend and nobody even knew that he was getting it. Jesse was just so confused whenever he got it. So,
Right,
I know there's times where Terry definitely gets some of those, but I think that he built it, which you have to,
right,
though, to keep it fun, like if we just
yeah,
completely build it off a single plan, then it gets so just boom, got to keep exactly to this versus just actually having a little bit of fun. I mean, like me getting all
right,
the colubrids and sambos, it kept a little difference in the collection.
yeah, yeah. Well, for like his case, he's kind of like, I don't want to say lucky, but like his social media really helps a lot. But
It does.
sometimes I cannot, replicate like his success to like random people, right? Because not many people have YouTube video. Like most of them, even heck, they're like really shy in front of cameras.
Yeah.
So I don't want them to. I mean, I call it like tough love. Sometimes like I'm really hard to like new people because I don't want them
Right.
to fail. You know what I mean? Because sometimes people like, why don't want me to spend money buying this project. I mean, I turn away a lot of people that want to get into like that sunset project or like my import project or things like that because I just don't feel they are ready to deal with it. You know, and then
Right.
yeah. So sometimes I just have them just start with clown or clown pipe project. If you really like it, then go in. I will help you along the way. I'm not going
Right.
anywhere.
Let's
But
see you just do
sometimes
something
people,
with this first.
yeah, yeah. If you feel like okay, so produce like like one clutch, and then feel like are you comfortable with this? This is because the thing is like what most people don't understand is once you get started, you cannot stop the cycle. It keeps continue. You
Right.
know what I mean? I mean once you get all your female breeders to go, like keep going, you cannot stop like let's say feeding them like from like once a week to like once a month. You cannot do that because you're gonna screw up the whole cycle.
Right.
You
Right.
know.
Right. You got to stay. It's a very consistent thing with snakes.
Exactly. So like once you start, you cannot stop. So are you ready to doing the same thing for like years and years? Because
Right.
you can treat it as a hobby just for fun, just like one day wonders, or you really want to get into it. So sometimes I let them to play around for like a year or so, and then once they feel like okay, I'm ready to go, then go ahead,
Right.
spend the monies, things like that. Because I feel like most people that jump like blindly, right? You know, not only they maxed out like what they have. I know like few buyers that actually get like few a project from me. They maxed out like two or three, their credit card. So
Yeah.
sometimes like I'm worried like can you pay those credit card because yeah you can smile and happy right now and then take bunch of pictures so you can post it online, but like month after like 5 6 months can you keep up because this animal needs to eat too, right? And then the
Right.
feeding fee, well the feeding cost itself is a lot of money, especially if you have
Right.
like like bigger collections. Can you handle that?
Yeah.
So
And that's
yeah,
what so many people don't even think about, because like there's always the downtime between, or what if it just doesn't breed, or what if things don't go as planned, like definitely see some people try to take their all into it, and like even my helper now, he'll
yeah,
go through my building, he'll be like, man, I really want this, let me take this one, let me buy this one off you. I'd be like,
yeah,
no, you don't need that, just keep going down the rack. Be like, well, what about this one? I'd be like, no, you don't need that one either, like just trust me,
right,
like because it's so easy. It's such. I mean, man, they say cocaine's addictive. I don't know that cocaine's any more addictive than snakes, to be
yeah,
honest with you. So
yeah,
it's so
yeah.
bad how how much there's just so many different colors out there and stuff that makes it so hard to pick one. You want to work with a little bit of each one, and that's the hardest part to it.
Yeah. What is next for you? What is your goal?
Uh, let's see. Goal is to
Mm-hmm.
get everything Clubrid wise breeding, Sambo wise breeding, Woma
Mm-hmm.
pythons. Try to get all that stuff really going. Truth is, with those, I just kind of been really starting to get to know, like trying to study them, get to know their patterns, get to know their routines before I try to breed them. I really get a good
Right.
grasp on and knows how they're changing and stuff like that. I haven't, I grew up doing boas, so doing boas, you don't feed it nearly as heavy as like what you see in a lot of other species. And I got to say, like, some of these like I'll go to a buddy of mine's house and I'll see some of his colubrids and like I can just
Mm-hmm.
feel the fat rolling through my hands and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. You know, like with these guys, I've been feeding them
Right.
so lean, they just feel like solid muscles. So been growing them really
Mm-hmm.
slow, but I think in the end it might be worth it. I guess we'll find out. You know, and hopefully they're up to size. Bigger building for sure. I don't remember when the last time is you were here, how full it was, but oh no, it was whenever we did the Miguel building or the Miguel one in my building. So yeah, there's way more stuff in there since the last time you came. You could barely even squeeze through at the very back going towards the sinks anymore. So
Yeah.
get a bigger building. That's really the goal. Try to get some rat production going. Just go produce my own and have them on hand. That's pretty
Yeah.
much the goals going into 2020, 2021. You know, really try to focus on that. Try to get a couple of the sunset clutches that I really want to hit and a couple tri-stripe things to hit. And yeah, that's really about it for me. Try to keep it simple around here. I like to just travel, do shows, and have a good time while doing shows. You know, I like to go camp. Everybody makes fun of me, but I'll go camp at a campground and get a shower there at the campground and everything and stay for $10 a night and go do shows. And I get a fish for
Yeah.
the whole night, so can't really beat that
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. Well, speaking about rodent, that's actually a really good business right now. Well, not right now. It's been a good business for the last over a decade, probably. You know, because your animals, people gonna keep buying their animals, keep breeding their animals, and then they need to eat. You know.
Right. Well, what's funny to
Yeah.
me is so many people, whatever they think, oh, well, I'm going to breed rodents. You know, us being reptile people, our automatic assumption is, yeah, all of our reptile friends are going to eat rodents. But the thing is there's so many rescues out there and bird keepers and raptor keepers and stuff like that that they have to, people that own owls or anything like that, they have to have these rodents. And like, there's such a market out there for them outside of just snakes. You know, it's just a
Yeah.
matter of
Zoos and
you have
then
to
yeah.
find those. You have to find those customers that are doing all these different things. Because, of course, for me and you, finding somebody to buy some rats over for snakes is super easy. But
Yeah.
snakes don't eat nearly as much as a bird does. I don't know how much a bird eats, but I know it's a lot more than a snake does in a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, because I always wanted to, kind of like build that facility just for rodent, but the problem is, like in California, there's like so many permit, and then they need, like so many requirements, and then on top of that, like once you do like all the math and all the breakdown point, you end up paying more. So that's
right,
why I used to breed like my own. Well, I have this college kid, and then I end up paying him more, like all the expenses, all the supplies. So for me, it doesn't really make sense. And then like I just don't like the smells and things. So
right,
it's actually much cheaper for me to get it from like a friend of mine, and then I'm lucky enough to have like three sources, and then they're all like my buddies, so I know them like really well. So
right.
yeah, it's much cheaper that way.
That's always the world of difference. You know, whenever you have a good, a good consistent source of them too, because that can be a hard thing too. Is sometimes you have somebody they're doing really well, and then something happens. You know, whether they lose their collection or they have a disease that runs through or whatever it may be. You know, a heat wave, whatever. Then all of a sudden your rat
Yeah.
production's gone. So you definitely have to always have a backup plan when it comes to rats. That's one of my
Yeah.
number one things. Like, for me, I have a lot of animals that they feed live, and
Yeah.
if I get cut off, I have a backup source for frozen thawed, but that doesn't mean that all my animals are going to get to eat super well because the ones that don't want to eat the frozen thawed are going to have live until, if I can't find anybody, they're going to have to, I'm going to have to push through until then somehow and try to get them to eat the frozen thawed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Um, what is hot in boas right now, like project wise?
Ooh, the labby stuff's really, really hot right now.
Oh, the
Man,
lab?
my buddy's, yeah, labby, it's like
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how to
You show
explain
it
it.
to
There's a
me.
bunch
Yeah.
of striping and stuff like that, but it can
Yeah.
vary quite a bit. It gives it like a really bold outline pattern. But now,
Mhm.
whenever you breed two labyrinths to each other, you get what's called a crystal boa, which to me, I always say is similar to a crystal ball python, except for instead of being like yellow on yellow, it gives it a yellow with orange, coloration. Uh,
Yeah.
and they have blue eyes too, like pretty light blue eyes with black pupils. So
Mm.
that's one of my favorite projects out there right now. I will say my buddy Sergio Hernandez, he made. He
Mhm.
didn't think it was, but I'm 99% sure it is. I haven't said this to him
Mhm.
yet, but it's a Tiglo Blood Jungle VPI. Yeah, so it's
Okay.
VPI. It's VPI Hypo Blood jungle all in the same animal, and it might be a super hypo. Thing's
Okay.
phenomenal, honestly. This crazy pink. I can't wait to see how it ages. So VPI blood stuff is definitely picking up and starting to bring in some heat. I think with
Okay.
that project, a lot of the boa people, like us in ball pythons, we don't like pastel as much for certain people, right? Well, boa people
Right.
don't like hypo because it tends to wipe out all the pattern, kind of do similar effects to what we had seen of, in the ball pythons, I guess, with pastel. Not necessarily the similar, but it kind of does take away,
Okay.
to a certain degree. But with these, it really seems to be bringing it to the table, making a hypo
Mm-hmm.
VPI blood. So those
Right.
will be neat over the next few years. Scoria projects are pretty hot right now. Of course, those always have their
Yeah.
controversy because they're similar to
Yeah. I
spiders.
heard too.
I make a ton
Yeah.
of spiders, so
I heard.
for me,
Yeah.
they'll never be a controversial one for me. But for other people,
Mm-hmm.
some people like them, some people don't.
Yeah. Yeah. So the one that you mentioned earlier, so it's gonna be Sun Dragon Jungle then, VPI line, right?
Basically, yeah. Except for the only difference
Okay.
is, you remember the one that was on Anthony's table this weekend?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was a call albino. That was T negative. These are T positive,
Oh,
so the
okay.
eyes are like solid
Okay.
black instead of solid
Much
red.
better. Yeah, much better.
Yeah,
You should do super lab blood.
I think that one has potential. It's funny. So Anthony's, not really particularly straight working on that project, but he's definitely
Uh
working
huh.
down that route because he
Okay.
mentioned it too. So I know he's gonna go for some pretty neat labby stuff over the next few years whenever it comes to the blood albino project, and hopefully he can make that. Because like I told him, I said, man, if you could just get one out that's just a blood labby and breed it back to another labby head blood and just get that, just see what it turns out like. Because I think that has a ton of potential to do some damage.
Yeah, that super fire project is also very good. I mean, I don't like that name. Prince Diamond is it's like super gay.
you know,
I call it like super fire. I don't really care. So yeah, I'm not a
yeah.
boa guy, but still, yeah. That was like Prince
I
Diamond,
mean,
like
I love the
Jeremy.
idea just
Yeah.
because, like,
What
I
were you
get where
thinking?
the concept come behind it. Because I mean, like, that was the Princess Diamond. Like that was the princess.
Yeah.
I guess as you could call her. Because had it not been for her, the Lucy project never would even came about at all.
Yeah.
So that was one of my first big projects I got into. I was one
Yeah.
of the first two people in the U.S. to buy fires. I was the
Mm.
first one in the U.S. to make a fire albino. I mean, a super fire albino. Well, I guess technically a fire albino and a super fire albino. Those came
Okay.
out really neat. So like that project has a ton of potential too. It's funny because I hear a
Mhm.
lot of people come by my table. They're like, "Oh, well, I just want to get the fires to make Lucy's. I don't want to make the combos." And then I just start laughing. I
Mhm.
said, "Yeah, imagine if we just had that perspective and looked at it that way in ball pythons. How many combos we'd mess out with just fire instead of super
Right.
fire? So, I mean, there's so many super fire. I mean, just regular fire combos out there. They're just insane. If you made it in
Mhm.
the super fire, of course it would just be a white snake. But
Yeah.
you could take that white snake and breed to something to make all fires out of a combo, and sometimes that, I mean, can make a phenomenal clutch at certain points. Same with boas.
Yeah. There's like so many things you can do with Boa's project. I mean, thank God. I mean, the problem is if I start one, I mean, you already know me. So if I start one, I'm gonna ramble the whole project, which is a problem. I always wanted,
Yeah.
to have just like a few projects. Well, that's usually what I said like at first, but I don't want to
What's
end
wrong
up,
with the
getting
200, right?
another. Yeah, yeah. But if I ever decided to go and then start my collection for boas, I definitely gonna go with Scoria. I don't care what people say, wobbles, nonsense, whatever, right? And then
Right.
super fires, and then obviously anything VPIs, IMG for sure, and
Yeah.
then that's pretty much it. And then build the Aldium collection from there. That's probably like my
Right.
top animals that that I get like the first group to just start DM collection. I
Right.
think that's probably the
I
best
will
move
say,
too.
if I were to
Yeah.
send you a picture of there's a ghost, so hypoanery fire.
Mhm.
There's one of those
Mhm.
out there, and I got sent that picture a couple weeks back. And I tell you, if you were to see that thing, you'd be like, okay, that anery and hypo,
Uh huh.
that'd definitely be another list on there. Just because, I mean, the thing is literally
Oh.
just like gray on the top, and then white as a leucistic on the sides.
Oh yeah.
It's
Um.
pretty neat. I'll send the picture after this.
Okay. So that's part of that plasma project then, right? Or no?
No, plasma is
What is plasma? Oh,
hypo blood
hypo
and
blood. Okay, I get
yeah.
confused,
So
but anyway, yeah.
hypo blood and
Yeah.
antler makes a plasma.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's not bad for a ball python guy
Yeah.
to get
It's
to know
funny
all
because
of these combos. Huh?
so what's funny for me is like doing the colubrids now, dealing with some of the hypo stuff. I'm so used to hypo being a incomplete dominant gene in boas, and now it's
Right.
recessive and everything else. So it throws me off every time. So I'm like, wait, is that dominant or not?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any ball python for sale right now?
Oh yeah, I got quite a few right now. Unfortunately, I am
Okay.
very disorganized as far as selling them. Facebook kind of ruined that. I used to post everything for sale on there. To be honest with you, and I quite haven't quite got regrouped from that. I need to get up
Right.
on Morph Market, I suppose, and finish getting the website done, so that way I can just have a list there with all the
Yeah.
photos. But you guys, could definitely reach out to me through Designer Reptiles on Facebook. You
Yeah.
can just look up Designer Reptiles LLC, and it should pull it up. And then same with Instagram as well. Reach out to me
Right.
there. Otherwise, hopefully here in the next few weeks, I'm able to get up the Morph Market and get all that flowing. Now that I don't have any shows here for a few weeks going.
Right. You can just make like a list and then put it on your Facebook page or your Insta or things like that. So you don't have
Yeah,
to take
I've been
picture like
doing that.
one by one.
The
Mhm.
only kicker is, the one downside of that is everybody always asks for pictures. Everybody messages, hey, what's the price on this, this, and this, and this. Finally, I'm
Mhm.
like, you know what? I just have to put in the work to finish out this website, get it the rest of the way built, because it's pretty much laid out all the way. I just got to do a little bit of word editing and stuff like that. Get
Mhm.
that up, because then all I got to do is send you a simple link, and then boom, every picture, every bit of information, what they are, what price they are, sex, it's just there. And even if I just post that on my Facebook, instead of having to send a list on my Facebook, it has all of it right there. Plus, you have photos to look at, and that's as well as I do. Especially to a newer person in the industry, if I'm sending you a list, a list doesn't
Mhm.
really mean nothing. There's so many names and mutations and patterns on there that it's hard to even think of what those might even look like.
Yeah.
Versus if you just have a picture there from the get go, you fall in love with her, you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. The best buyers usually they don't even ask for anything. I have
Right.
like few of them. You just send a list, and then they already know, and then they text you back. It's like I need like this, and this, and then ship it. Like, let's say like next week, like on this date or something like that. That's it. No, no 10,000 pictures. No like this, like what's the weight, what's this, or whatever.
Right.
They already know like what's going. That's probably the best buyers ever.
I remember there was a time that I was buying this animal for I want to say $2,500. It was a VPI boa back in like 2013 or 12 or something like that. And I was at
Uh
the
huh.
store picking up food or
Mhm.
whatever at like the grocery
Mhm.
store, and the guy I'd emailed him, and he was like, "You don't have any more questions about it or whatever." Blah blah. I was like, "No, I just need your PayPal." And he's like, "Well, can you call me real quick, please?" So I call him, and I'm kind of annoyed because I'm trying to get down to the store and whatnot. And he was just like, "Are you
Right.
sure you don't have any more questions or anything like that about her?" I said, "No,
Yeah.
just can you ship her on the day that we discussed?" And he was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "That's all that I need. As long as like if my thing is if I'm giving somebody $2,500, as long as I haven't heard anything bad about them in the industry
Yeah.
and all that, I expect a clean, good animal. It's a $2,500 animal. I expect it to be a clean, healthy animal. If not, then then we're gonna have some serious issues whenever that $2,500 animal arrives." And trust me, you can
Right.
ask a
Right.
couple people. I've shown up at people's houses before for animals, so don't think I won't drive across the country.
Yeah, yeah, it happens to me too because I had this. This is like 6 years ago or something like that. Because the good thing is I do real estate, right? So I have agents like in like every states. I just happen
Right,
to have these stupid kids, you know. So apparently he used like their parents. Well, according to him, I think it's like stolen card anyway. So it was like a chargeback. I mean,
right.
it's not that much. It's just kind of like annoying sometimes, So, and then luckily, my agent's office is not that far from the address, that animal shipped. So I just call him and then have him like drive all the ways and then knock on the door.
Right.
It was hilarious. Yeah,
It's,
it happens.
I
Yeah.
basically did the same thing. It was funny because I did the same where I had a kid that he used his grandma's card that he was living with. Well,
Yeah.
you know, not being very smart, he shipped the animal and he lived about 30 minutes away from my house. And you best believe I hopped my ass in that car and I drove over there. And man, I showed up at that front
Yeah.
door and I was just like, no, 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 no. Like, little kid, do
Yeah.
not make me do this. The bad part is
Yeah.
that kid actually ended up ripping off two other people, and I had to go back, I had to go
Oh.
back a few weeks later, get some animals again. And then a few weeks later, he did it again to another buddy of mine. So I showed back up at his front door and got him back again.
Yeah. Right.
And then I
Typical
remember
kids,
there was
right?
actually, at one point, I went over there and I picked up an animal and I didn't even know who it belonged to. He had stolen it off somebody else, and
Okay.
still to this day, I never was able to find out who it belonged to. I don't remember what happened
Mm-hmm.
to it, but I sold it or something like that. If I could ever find that person, I'd gladly give them their money. Uh,
Right.
but like he threw it inside the box with the rest of all the other animals that he's stolen, and I opened it up. I go, I don't even
Mm-hmm.
know what this thing is. Like, I had no idea what it was.
Right. Yeah.
Still to this day,
It's
don't.
always like one of this thing. Yeah, it's always like that. Yeah. Well, just already hit like 1 hour mark. So, is there
Sweet.
anything else that you wanna go over?
I think we covered everything pretty well on this one. Honestly, went pretty smooth going throughout a little bit of topics here and there.
Yeah. Yeah, because like this is technically, I cannot call it like podcast. It's just like, two friends talking. That's it. I mean, I,
Right,
I don't have
right.
any
Just a
questions.
simple
There's
reptile
no,
hangout.
yeah, there's no, there's no format. There's no nothing. Just like talking.
Yeah, I
Pretty
remember I was
much.
going to
It's
send
like,
you a
yeah.
text beforehand, or like earlier today. I was going to be like, "Hey, can you send me like your layout of questions?" I was like, "Who am I kidding? I know there's not a layout of questions over there."
Right. Yeah, because that's probably the best way, because sometimes when you talk, you do not know like where you're going, right? I mean, I cannot have
Right,
like specific questions like and then keep going back, and then if I feel like that person when I ask something and then he's kind of like nervous or things like that, then I'm obviously gonna help him out, So
right.
yeah, because I get that like so often. Like I have like two more like tomorrow. I think yeah, Friday. I have Kevin Boas, and then I think it's like Marshall or something. Yeah. So yeah, and then they already asked like, can I can I have your questions? I'm like, there's no question. Just talk.
Yeah, we're just gonna hang out.
They're
Like, if
like
you don't like a
worried about
subject,
it.
you just go ahead and push away from it or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, because like when I go over like simple questions like what do you think about the market, if I feel that guy kind of like confused or like do not know like what to say, then obviously I'm gonna say something just to help him up, so
Right.
yeah. Well, Jess, it's been fun. We'll talk soon. When is your next shows? October, you
Oh,
going back
let's
to
see.
California?
For me, I got one here in February, local here in Dallas. March, I
Mm,
might try to make March Chinley, but that's kind of a coin toss. I don't usually win that one. I usually just kind of go and hang out. So don't know for sure if I'll
okay.
end up doing that. But I should be in. Also, I should be in Arlington, ERBC in February as well.
Okay, so both of the Arlington.
Yeah, both of the Arlington shows. There's two. There's a small, little big local one that we have here, and then the next weekend after that, or 2 weekends after that, I believe, is
Mm-hmm.
the big NERBC show. So
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, Chase, thank you for your time. And then, if there's anything else I can do to help, always feel free to reach out.
same to you, brother. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you here soon.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Chase.
Have a good one, Chris. Talk to you. Bye.
You too.